Greetings, beautiful people. My name is Simon Javan Okelo, and I'm here because whenever any one of you who is watching this have a problem, the first person you go to is your friend. And today I'm here to discuss the Tigray crisis. I'm here with the amazing Eden Gebremariam, and Eden is a university student studying public health and international affairs and currently interning with Make Injera Not War. This is a campaign that was created to raise awareness about the conflict in Ethiopia through fashion. Eden also works as an elementary school tutor and uses her free time to advocate about the ongoing genocide in Tigray. Tigray is a region in Ethiopia. Last week I had another opportunity to speak to another sister who is extremely involved with, especially focusing on the women's rights in Tigray. I've also been following what's going on in Tigray, and generally I pay close attention to what's going on in Africa in general. And so if you're joining us today, I just want you to know that, I'm here in order for us to just dig a little deeper so that we understand what's the story of Eden, why is she passionate about Make Injera Not War, what's going on in Tigray from her perspective, and how can you, our viewers, be involved? How can you help? And then how can you stay connected with Eden? So with that, I just want to invite you, Eden, to share with us your story, share with us a little moment, paint a picture of where you grew up, and a moment when you were 8 to 10 years that made you realize that one day you will be involved in using fashion to respond to conflicts in Ethiopia or anywhere in the world.
Thank you so much, Simon, for the really kind and sweet introduction. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today and to speak on the current conflict. Just to give a little bit of background about myself, my name is Eden, as you guys already know. I'm originally from Seattle, Washington. However, I recently moved to DC for university. And I'm a first-generation Ethiopian. My parents came to America before I was born, and I was very blessed to, get an American education, to go to university, and to have their support. I lost my father when I was younger, but I've been raising my mom ever since, and she's been very strong and somebody who's inspired me a lot. I actually come from a mixed ethnic background in Ethiopia. So Tigray is, so there are Tigrayans in Ethiopia. And that's where my mom's side come from. And my father's side comes from a different side called the Amhara region, and he's Amhara. So being raised in an Ethiopian household, especially with that two different ethnicities, it's been pretty interesting because I was always raised as an Ethiopian. I didn't think too much about ethnicity while growing up. And I've always been somebody who's very proud of my culture, and that kind of connects to why I decided to study public health international affairs. I was blessed enough to go visit Ethiopia many times throughout my whole entire life, and I've always just fallen in love with the culture, how beautiful it is. And I think in general with Africa, there's just like something there. I don't know how to describe it, but the African diaspora, even though I didn't live my life there and I didn't grow up there necessarily, all the time I spent there, all the culture that I've learned and how it's inspired me has really pushed me towards wanting to work there one day. So in college, I decided to study public health international affairs to hope that one day I can move back to Ethiopia and I can help my people and just be more involved in the development and the overall success of the continent and Ethiopia as well. Reason why I did get involved in Make Injera Not War.
Hold on for a moment. Yeah, before we get there, okay. You're such an amazing storyteller. I want to slow you down just a little bit because I want our audience to connect with you as a person and to understand that you're human, and also that the people that you're raising, helping raise a voice, especially with the crisis in Tigray, are also human. A lot of the time when you're so far away from the crisis, you feel like, oh, it's an Ethiopian problem. They will deal with it, and I just wanted you to kind of take us through a journey of Uh, One thing about this podcast is that I started this podcast because I wanted to inspire other black fathers to tell their stories. I wanted to create a platform where also children of black fathers could come and tell their stories. And I wanted to help change the narrative about Africa, the narrative about who we are globally as black people. And you find that we have father figures in our families, we have father figures in our institutions, we have father figures in our nations. And you know this podcast was started because there's a Kenyan creative, a filmmaker that committed suicide, and he was a friend of mine. And I wanted to create something to inspire other people to not be quiet when they're going through something. And I just wanted you to share with us, paint for us a picture where you felt that fatherhood is an important thing for you, and also for our communities. Why do you think fatherhood is important? And if you want, you can relate it to your upbringing before we get to Make Injera Not War.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, I'll rewind a little bit for sure. I guess when it comes to like fatherhood and how I was raised, as I mentioned earlier, my father passed away. I was 10 years old. He passed away, and my father like had a really big impact on my life, of course, because he's my dad, and he's actually like one of the biggest factors as to why I'm so proud about my culture and like why I am who I am. Growing up, he always played Ethiopian music. He always talked to me, my sister, in our native language. Um, I felt like he really made a point to always make sure that I was proud of who I was and to understand who I am. And being a first generation African, sometimes I went to a school where there weren't many other Africans, especially black kids at that. So being at school and being Ethiopian, people make their stupid African jokes like, "Oh, you smell like onions," or annoying stuff like that. And I think that the way I was brought up by my father definitely played a big role in me being proud of my identity and just really understanding who I am. And I think like losing him was very difficult for many reasons, just because it's like I was young. On top of that, sometimes when you lose somebody, it feels like there's a part of you missing. It feels like there's something you're missing out on. Sometimes, like now that I've gotten older and I've gotten even more interested in my culture, I want to ask him something. I want to be like, oh, like what is this, or what's the meaning of that, or like, how did you grow up? And I think like the most beautiful thing about fatherhood is, and just parents in general, is just like the ability to connect and just to have somebody there for you, and just to have somebody who really gets you and can just not tell you who you are, but really inspire you and make you proud to be who you are.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, when we think about how driven you are, I can feel the passion that you bring to every space you go to, the passion that you bring to even the place where you're interning, Make Injera Not War. I want you to just speak about what Make Injera Not War is all about, and why you feel that it's the best place for you to be at right now in 2021. And then from there, we will talk a little bit about what's going on in Tigray and how people can help.
Yeah. So I got involved with Make Injera Not War because I happened to know one of the founders. And throughout the whole conflict, I have been very active on my social media. I've been, posting on my Instagram, my Twitter, and other things a lot. And one of the founders, reached out to me because she believed that I could really add to their campaign. And I really admire Make Injera Not War. Just to give you guys a little bit of background of it, it's basically a clothing line. I'm actually wearing one of the shirts right now. I can show you guys. That'll work. It's kind of hard, but so Make Injera Not War. Essentially, the shirts say Make Injera Not War, and point of it is basically to make a statement about how in Ethiopia, as many people know, we eat injera. So it's basically to say that we should not be fighting. We should be making our injera and being peaceful. And 100% of the proceeds go towards Operation Rescue, which is an NGO based in Tigray that works with orphaned and vulnerable children and uses a community-based approach to support them physically, emotionally, spiritually, through many means, whether that's giving them food, giving them shelter, or helping them with their education. And that's something that's really important to me personally because, like I mentioned earlier, I've always wanted to work back home. And although I personally can't be in Tigray or Ethiopia in general right now due to the conflict, taking up this opportunity was way for me to, help with what's going on back home and to basically be involved as much as possible.
Yeah, thank you. Now, I see that some of your community members are joining us on YouTube. Thank you all for joining us. And please remember to share the link for this conversation that we are having with Eden Gebremariam about what's going on in Tigray. We are learning Eden's story. We've learned, some of the lessons she learned from her father. And we are now learning about why she's so passionate about Make Injera Not War. So thank you for spending your time with us. Our goal today is to really show solidarity with the people of Tigray and the children and the women and the men and just the human beings that are facing a genocide right now. For me, as a father of 3 girls and as an African man, it hurts my soul to know that we are in 2021 and we still have people being kicked out of their houses, women being raped, people being starved, and food being weaponized. This is not something that should be happening in 2021. And so I want us to talk a bit about Tigray. I want Eden to just paint for us a picture. What is going on? How did it start? And how could it end?
Yeah. So on November 4th, when we were in the United States, we were focusing on the US election. There was a law enforcement operation declared on the Tigray's People Liberation Front, which is the political party of the Tigray region. And me and many other Tigrayans, when we heard this news, it was not pretty. Although Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed made it out to seem like this was an innocent operation, he claimed it was going to take only 3 days. Civilians were not going to be harmed. He painted a very pretty picture. And this, I don't want to generalize the Ethiopian community, but there are very many Ethiopians who have grievances with that political party and view the law enforcement operation as being justified. I won't absolve any government of their crimes, but I think at the declaration of this conflict, there was a loss of sight about what was really at cost here. And the fact that Ethiopia is a very poor country, and this is known, all the stereotypes about it. On top of that, it's a pandemic. So having a military operation is not the best right now, considering, how high COVID cases are. So there's a lot of political context behind it, but I'm going to focus more on the humanitarian side of it. So immediately when the war was declared, there was a communication blackout.
So hold on, let's just go step by step, because I want anybody who has never heard about the situation in Tigray to just be able to digest it easily. So when was the war declared and why was it declared?
It was declared on November 4th.
Okay.
And the reason why it was declared because there was an attack, or there was an an attack basically by the TPLF onto the Northern Command, which is a military base that is basically, I guess, owned is not may not be the right word, but by the Ethiopian government, and the Ethiopian government saw that as an attack and therefore declared the law enforcement operation. Mm-hmm. Something that's more difficult at the situation, though, is there were other factors that played into this occurring. So a couple months before the conflict, the Tigray region went ahead with elections, although right. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed decided that he didn't want to do elections. And something about Abiy Ahmed to keep in mind is he was not elected by the people of Ethiopia. He was appointed after our previous prime minister stepped down. And the Tigray region, they were fully within their rights, and they went ahead with the election. And this definitely upsetted Abiy. And there were also other factors prior to that also played a role into this tension between the central government and the Tigray regional government.
Right.
So there was a lot of tension there beforehand, but I think that the Northern Command being attacked played into it, escalating further. But many people in Ethiopia and Ethiopians in general did see something coming between these two groups.
Right. Now, just paint for us a picture of what's going on now, especially the humanitarian crisis that is going on there. I know that, the Tigray region has been blocked off in a way that international NGOs cannot get food for the people in Tigray. I also know that there's no internet connection, there's no electricity. Can you just paint for us a picture of what is going on the ground currently?
Yeah. So this is something that a lot of Tigrayans we like to say is this entire conflict has been in the dark. So what we mean by this is, like you mentioned, no internet, no phone connection for a majority of the conflict. There were certain areas about a month ago or a month and a half ago maybe that received connection, but a majority of the region was still in the dark. A couple more, actually not a couple, a good amount of cities gained phone connection yesterday. However, the internet is still out. And mind you, this is 3 months into the conflict. So for me and my family, we spoke to our family members in certain cities for the first time in 3 months. And in addition to that, banking has been closed, trade has been closed. So as you can imagine, this is really shocking and very abrupt. This conflict kind of popped out of nowhere. So for all these things to be cut off with little to no preparation is very shocking for the people. And if you would imagine, if they had known what was going to happen, people could have gone and bought food, they could have prepared, they could have made plans, to go to a different city in Ethiopia, somewhere safer. But it really has been in the dark.
Yeah, so right now, from a humanitarian perspective and also from a human rights perspective, especially, when we think about the children, when we think about the women, when we think about the elders, and I know that there has been refugees that have been crossing the border to Sudan for a while now. I've watched a lot of videos on Vice and all over YouTube, and I've also been a part of conversations on Clubhouse where I've learned a little bit. But I just wanted you to also talk about some of the good things that have happened. There are good things that have happened in the last few weeks where people that are unexpected supporters have showed love to the Tigray community, especially here in the diaspora as well as back home. Could you just share with us some of the stories and then tie that with what other people can do to help? Because we really want to focus on how the children and the women and the elders can get support, but also we want to use today's conversation to let the world know what is going on from your perspective as somebody that they can see as another human being that they can communicate with, because the news these days is difficult to trust, because we know that the news serves certain interests. So I just want you to paint for us a picture of because despite of the grave situation we are facing, there has been a few good things that have happened, and I just want to use that to go into how people can help.
Definitely, yeah. And just before that, is it okay if I give a little bit more detail about the conflict before we go into that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Just feel like I missed a couple things.
No problem.
So some things to take in consideration for those who aren't familiar with the conflict is there have been bombings, drone strikes, shellings, many forms of attacks that have been put onto the civilians. Although there has been a communication blackout, we have been able to figure this out due to the fact that there have been some people who have been able to leave the area. I personally know people American and other foreign nationals who left the country and saw them with their own eyes. On top of that, UN, Red Cross, other agencies have been interviewing refugees. And in those interviews, refugees recall being shot at, having bombs dropped over them, and just being shocked overall by how violent and how just how crazy the situation was there. Another issue that's been really difficult, that's impacted women a lot too, is the gender-based violence. If people don't already know, Eritrean troops have been involved in the conflict. This has been confirmed by other countries, also by refugees who have fled, and just in general, people have seen them with their own eyes there. So the involvement of foreign troops and ethnic militias from other regions in Ethiopia has led to a lot of women being abused. There has been kind of like a state of lawlessness. So there have been a lot of rapes. There's been just very violent things occurring, and it's really taken a toll on the people. Recently, the three opposing parties of the Tigray People's Liberation Front released a statement together, basically describing how dire the situation was, and claimed that 50,000 civilians have been lost as a result of the conflict. So that's just to paint a picture of how terrible things have been. There have been ethnic massacres, people being hurt, a lot of young men being killed. So overall, it's a very dire situation.
So about
Um,
50,000 people have been killed between November and now.
Yes, so
Yeah,
something to
wow.
take consideration is due to the communication blackout,
Yeah,
journalists have not been able to access the area. There's a lack of independent investigation, so that is why I said claim. But
yeah.
something to consider is those are opposition parties to the TPLF. So when they make that claim, they don't have a certain reason to defend the TPLF because they are opposition parties.
Hmm.
But I know me and many other people in the diaspora have lost at least one family member. So the number can't be too far from the truth. Um,
Yeah.
to go on to a lighter note, I guess, to like address the nice things that have happened is a lot of Tigrayan diaspora have been advocating a lot.
I think we just lost Eden there for a moment. Her connection is going to be steady in just a moment. If you're joining us on YouTube, thank you for being here with us. And if you're joining us on iTunes and other podcasting platforms, thank you for being here with us. My name is Simon Javan Okelo. I am the host of the African Father in America podcast, and we are having a conversation here with Eden Gebremariam, who is a student studying public health and international affairs and currently interning with Make Injera Not War. And Eden spends her spare time to advocate about the ongoing genocide in Tigray. And today we've been discussing her story. We've talked about why she's passionate about Make Injera Not War. We've talked about what's going on in Tigray, and she was just painting a picture of how the situation is dire there, how young men are being murdered, how there is no access to Tigray, how even though there are political parties in Tigray that oppose the party in Tigray that runs the region, they've united in order to send a message to the world that the situation there is really bad. I was in Kenya during the post-election violence in 2008 after the 2007 elections. And within about 3 months, 1,500 people were killed. But right now I'm learning that between November 2020 and February 2021, over 50,000 people have been killed in Tigray. That's a lot of lives, and that's not good. So if you're watching this, pay attention. Even if you don't value the lives of people from Tigray, just pay attention to those numbers and know that injustice and loss of lives unnecessarily is not what we want for Africa right now. You might be quiet because it's not you being impacted by this, and tomorrow it might be you, and you will need the help of other people. So if you're watching this, please share this video in order for you to help Eden and the people of Tigray that are seeking our support. And just know that we appreciate you for that. Right now Eden is going to share with us how you can help, and also you'll just finish talking about what are some of the things that people have done that others can also do.
Yeah, sorry about that connection loss. Yeah, so I just wanted to discuss. I was discussing how Tigrayan diaspora have really been utilizing their voices. So there have been Twitter campaigns, Instagram campaigns.
What are some of the hashtags that those who are watching can actually use, and what are some actions people can take right now?
Yeah, so for some actions that people can take right now, so some hashtags that are really great to look at is hashtag Tigray genocide. So Tigray is spelled Tigray. And another hashtag that's good is hashtag I stand with Tigray and Tigray as well. There's also Tigray 2, as in the number 2. Tigray, which is another good hashtag to look at. Also, Stop War on Tigray. That's another great one to check out as well. So if you go through that hashtags, you will probably see, a lot of Tigrayan diaspora who are discussing what is going on, probably posting articles, maybe discussing family members that they have personally lost, or also discussing ways to help. On top of that, a good account to check out is at Omna Tigray. So OMNA Tigray spelled Tigray. So that's been a really informative account as well. When it comes to donating or just supporting the cause, Make Injera is great as well. But there are a lot of places you can go to help as well. And when you go to Omna Tigray, you go on the hashtag, you will see ways to help. So to talk a little bit more about what Tigrayan diaspora have been doing, more recently we've been on Clubhouse, and if you aren't familiar with Clubhouse, it's an invite-only app. It's audio-based. You basically go into rooms. You can talk with people. It's actually pretty cool. And a lot of Tigrayans have been utilizing it to educate people what's going on. You can quickly switch between rooms. And one day, Tigrayan diaspora actually encountered past CEO of T-Mobile, John Legger, and he committed to donating $25,000 to support those impacted by the war on Tigray. I think that encounter itself just goes to show how strong, word of mouth is, how great it is to spread the word, because you really never know who you encounter. John, he's such a friendly man. We're so thankful for the connection we made with him. And we're only looking forward to more. And like Simon brought up, it's very sad to see all these people killed. And sometimes, when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement and SARS, we see a lot of public outrage, and that's good, because we see that there's a collective hurt that humans feel. And I think it's important to keep that up, because the more we work on caring about each other's issues, the more we work towards fixing them.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I just want all who are watching to really pay attention to what Eden is saying and use some of the hashtags she's sharing, support in the ways that even people like John, the former CEO of T-Mobile, have showed support. Bomani, who is the icon of Clubhouse, has shown support. And I also just want to invite you right now to pay attention to how you can stay connected with Eden and some of the things she's doing. We are coming close to the end of our conversation today. So Eden, please go ahead and share that, how people can stay connected with you, and ask me any question that you have for me, anything that you feel that I haven't asked you that you want me to respond to.
Yeah, so I guess I'm not a super big activist or anything, but the best place that to keep up with me, I tweet a lot about the events and try to share as many resources as possible on my Twitter. And my Twitter is at EEDEEN_. So that's a pretty good place to reach me. Also, like I brought up before, at OMNA Tigray. Omna Tigray is a very great resource. They post a lot of infographics, very educational based. They also have resources to donate and to get more involved as well. And also,
Wonderful.
Please check out the hashtags I mentioned earlier. I guess, Simon, I guess my question would be, when you're looking at the movement, what are some things you think would help us, or what is your experience in the past with seeing African issues like this and how we can better involve each other?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think number one is what's happening in Africa is the same. The problems in Tigray are very similar to the problems in Kenya, because our nations are being are still being manipulated by the colonialists, and so you find that the reason why Tigrayans are being murdered right now is because of ethnic differences, period. It's the same to racism here in America, and that means that we, the younger generation, we, the younger Africans, we are the ones who have to redefine what our Africa is, and that is why, I'm from Kenya, and I'm creating a platform for my Tigrayan sister to be able to speak about what's going on in Tigray. We need to collaborate. That's my quick answer to you. But I think first we have to decolonize our minds. There was a brother or a sister who I think was here on YouTube called Negras Afrodendol, that was speaking about how Tigray region has been unfair to the members of the LGBTQA community, and I just want to say that that's not the spirit that we want to bring. When somebody comes to you with a problem, you pay attention to their problem first, before you bring another problem, So right now, people are being killed in Tigray, Maybe the government in Tigray in the past mismanaged Ethiopia. The people who ruled Ethiopia from Tigray mismanaged Ethiopia. Let's say that that's what they did. But that does not mean that women and children and people should be killed in thousands. We need if we can go and negotiate with China to give us money, why can't we negotiate with our neighbors that we speak similar languages with in order for us to find a common ground? So if we can set examples from the diaspora that Tigrayans and people from Oromia and people from other regions can work together, then back home people will start seeing that, if we work together we can accomplish bigger goals, So I'm really dedicating a lot of my life into collaboration, because I know that as you continue working with people, you learn about each other, you build trust, you build solutions, you overcome challenges, But if you just believe what politicians tell you, believe what religious people tell you, believe what learning institutions tell you, but you have not spent time with people, you'll never know people. You'll never know their challenges, and then they will never know your challenges, and then you will never be able to help one another, all of us are important. White people, black people, Arabs, everybody in this world is important. There is enough resources for everybody. But we are always made to feel that there is not enough. We have to fight. We have to kill one another, So we have to overcome that. And I feel that for me, I have so much hope when I speak to someone like you who is clearly younger. It gives me hope that already you're speaking up against something that is evil, and I think more young people, not just from Tigray, not just from Ethiopia, need to know that the problem in Ethiopia is a problem in Kenya. It's almost like the climate crisis. Some people are saying, it doesn't exist, but it does. And then one day when an actual climate-related calamity happens is when people are like, this is what we were being told about.
Yeah, no, you really hit it on the nail, and I think the most important part is taking consideration the fact that if you don't act when it's happening to somebody else, who's going to act when it happens to you? And I don't think anything in the world should be tit for tat, but I think everybody should work towards being more engaged with each other's problems and just in general being more understanding and empathetic towards others. Your words are really beautiful, and I really appreciate your response to my question.
Yeah, no problem. With that, I just want us to wrap up our conversation for today. If you're joining us on YouTube, thank you. Please make sure you subscribe to the African Father in America podcast, and thank you for engaging with us. I saw some positive and some negative comments. That's okay. I will read them and respond to some of them later. But know that when you do good, you do it for yourself. When you do bad, you do it for yourself, So whatever you do, whatever actions you take, You're just doing them for yourself. Now, remember to rate the African Father in America podcast on iTunes. Give us 5 stars over there. And, I'm just grateful that you took the time to listen and, be helpful to what's going on in Tigray. With that, I just want to, say again, thank you, Eden, for being courageous and, joining me for this call very late in the East Coast. So continue doing what you're doing. It's really needed right now. Okay?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Simon. I really appreciate you having me come here today and allowing me to be a voice for my people.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good night.
You as well, Simon. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Father in America.